They once said that one day, humanity would leave the Milky Way, that we'd sail beyond the stars and find new worlds among the endless dark. But what if the greatest truth we'll ever discover isn't waiting in another galaxy, but right here, within the one we can never escape? Somewhere in the vast silence between suns lies a secret so profound, it changes how we see everything, time, life, and the meaning of home. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why humanity will never leave our galaxy, and why that might be the most beautiful truth of all. Imagine drifting far beyond the world you know, past the faint blue circle of Earth and the bright edge of the Moon, past the orbit of Mars where sunlight already fades into a deep orange haze. Imagine traveling outward through the slow widening silence of the solar system, where the warmth of the sun becomes just another distant star among billions. You move with quiet purpose, not rushing, not falling, simply continuing forward in an endless calm. Around you there is no sound, no wind, no up or down, only the soft rhythm of your breath inside a fragile vessel made by human hands. This is not the fast leap of a spaceship from a movie, but something slower, steadier, more real, a crossing of emptiness measured not in hours but in lifetimes. Now the planets have become points of light behind you, and the sun has grown small enough to hide behind your thumb if you stretch out your hand. The darkness here is not frightening, it is clear and endless, a kind of peaceful night that never ends. Out here, the stars no longer twinkle, they shine with a steady precision, as if carved into the fabric of time itself. You begin to feel how enormous everything truly is, how far each point of light must be from the next. You might remember the way science fiction once promised travel between galaxies, ships leaping from one cluster of stars to another, entire civilizations spread across the universe. But in this quiet truth, in this deep and honest space, nothing happens quickly. Every movement is patient, deliberate, and slow beyond imagination. If you could look back toward home, you would see the entire solar system contained within a small circle of darkness. All the planets, moons, and comets, all the paths we have traced with our telescopes and dreams, would fit inside a space smaller than a single pixel from this distance. Voyager 1, the most distant spacecraft ever built, is still less than one light day away from the Sun, even after traveling for decades. The light that left the Earth a few seconds ago is still close by, while the light that will one day reach another star will not arrive for tens of thousands of years. The numbers themselves begin to dissolve into silence, because they stretch beyond what a human life can truly feel. And yet, here in this stillness, you begin to understand how much space there really is between one star and another. In this imagined journey, you are not rushing to escape. You are simply observing, drifting in a direction that may never truly arrive anywhere. The Milky Way stretches before you, a disk of light almost 100,000 light-years wide, filled with more than 100 billion stars. It curves and ripples like a vast glowing sea, its arms coiling around a quiet center where a black hole turns invisibly through time. To cross even one of these arms would take longer than the entire history of human civilization. Yet it feels serene to think of it this way, not as a race or a mission, but as an endless landscape of light and silence. The mind settles when it faces something that large. It no longer searches for an end, it simply drifts. You may think of the stories that shaped our sense of space, sleek ships jumping between galaxies, explorers finding new worlds as easily as crossing an ocean. Those stories helped us dream, but the real universe moves differently. There are no shortcuts here, no hidden tunnels through time. Every photon, every grain of dust, follows the same patient laws that have ruled since the first stars ignited. If a ship left Earth today and could travel 1,000 times faster than our fastest rockets, it would still take thousands of years to reach the nearest neighboring star. Fiction compresses time to fit inside a human life, but nature does not. The galaxy does not hurry for anyone. It simply turns. The silence of space is not empty, it has a texture, a quiet weight. Between the stars there is a thin ocean of particles, each one drifting for millions of years without meeting another. Radiation hums faintly through this vacuum, carrying the memory of the Big Bang itself. The light from distant galaxies travels through this darkness, unbroken, stretching into longer and softer waves as the universe expands. From your small point of view, the stars of the Milky Way seem still, but they are all moving, orbiting the center of the galaxy at speeds you cannot feel. Even as you float in perfect stillness, everything around you is in motion. The sun is circling the galactic core, and the Earth, though invisible now, is following behind it like a tiny spark trailing a flame. As you drift farther, the shape of the Milky Way begins to appear. It is not a flat picture as we often imagine, but a vast and layered structure. Stars form thin spirals, clouds of gas glow with soft red light, and regions of darkness cut across them like rivers of shadow. These are the dust lanes that hide entire clusters of newborn suns. In some places, the light grows dense, almost mist-like, forming the luminous band that we can see from Earth on a clear night. It feels comforting to realize that this faint band in our sky is the edge of the galaxy seen from within, a kind of reminder that we are part of something enormous and calm. When we look up from our world and see the Milky Way, we are looking through billions of stars that will never meet, each one carrying its own solitude, its own quiet story. If you could hear anything in this silence, it might be the slow pulse of radio waves traveling from human machines, the faint echoes of our presence in the void. They spread outward at the speed of light, forming an invisible sphere that expands by 1 light-year every year. It is a growing bubble of knowledge and noise, a record of every transmission we have ever made. From a distance of a few dozen light-years, those signals are already faint and scattered. From 1,000, they are indistinguishable from the natural whispers of the cosmos. In time, they will fade completely, blending into the background hum that fills the universe. What remains will not be our movement through space, but our small effort to be heard. Now the Milky Way itself becomes your horizon. You can see its structure as an island of light adrift in blackness, one galaxy among countless others. But even though there are billions of galaxies in the observable universe, they are not close. The nearest major one, Andromeda, is more than 2 million light-years away. The light you see from it tonight began its journey when early humans were just learning to use fire. When those photons reach your eyes, they have traveled across a distance so great that even imagination hesitates before it. Between the Milky Way and Andromeda lies a gulf of almost perfect nothingness, a space so wide that entire civilizations could rise and fall without crossing even a fraction of it. And yet, this immense stillness does not feel hopeless. It feels peaceful, as if the universe has chosen a natural pace and invites us to move within it rather than against it. There is beauty in the slowness, in the patience of stars burning for billions of years, in the long arcs of their orbits, in the way light travels endlessly without expectation of arrival. The more you imagine this, the more your breathing slows, matching the rhythm of cosmic time. Each breath becomes an orbit, each thought a quiet star turning in its place. The boundaries between the small and the infinite begin to soften. You are still yourself, but you are also part of this vast turning system that includes everything, the atoms in your skin, the starlight in your eyes, the long journey of light across the dark. There is no hurry to understand it all. The purpose of this moment is not discovery, but stillness. You are floating in a space that asks nothing from you, where even motion seems optional. The galaxy spins gently around its core, completing one revolution every 200 million years. In that span, continents shift, species appear and fade, and entire histories rise and vanish. Yet the galaxy continues, unaffected, calm, balanced between gravity and emptiness. To imagine this is to rest inside something larger than time itself. The noise of daily life fades, and only the slow current of existence remains. You might think again of those who first looked up and wondered what lay beyond the stars. Every ancient skywatcher, every early astronomer, every astronaut who has drifted above the Earth. If you have been enjoying this quiet journey so far, you are always welcome to come back again. You can subscribe if you would like to hear more of these gentle explorations, or leave a small like if you wish, a simple way of letting me know you are here. These stories are meant to be companions, small lights to help guide you toward rest. And if you want to share where you are listening from, you can. Somewhere on Earth, another person may be hearing these same words under a different sky. Together, we are part of one silent, turning world. Now, let your breath become slower still. Imagine each inhale as the pull of gravity, drawing calmness toward you, and each exhale as a release of all the small, invisible weights you have carried today. The muscles of your face begin to soften. The jaw loosens, the tongue rests lightly, and the space behind your eyes grows quiet. Your thoughts may still come and go, that is natural. You do not have to stop them. You only have to let them drift like small satellites, circling peacefully around your attention without ever needing to land. The body begins to understand the signal that the mind is sending. The heart slows its beat, the blood flows in an even rhythm, and every cell starts to follow a slower clock. This slowing down is not something you force, it is something that unfolds naturally, like the rotation of a planet that has never once hurried its path. The galaxy moves this way too, steady, measured, graceful. You are part of that rhythm. The same physics that guides the stars also guides the rise and fall of your breath. You are, in every sense, made of the same matter as the cosmos you imagine. If thoughts about the day return, you can greet them kindly. Each one is a small reflection of something that once mattered, but it no longer needs to stay in focus. The brain, like the sky, can hold many lights without confusion. Let the thoughts pass like meteors, bright for an instant, then gone. What remains afterward is the deep background of stillness, the space that allows everything to exist. The quiet you are entering now is not emptiness. It is presence without effort, awareness without struggle. It is the space where sleep begins to form. As you lie there, picture your body as a spacecraft resting between stars. Every part of it has a purpose, every system humming softly, sustaining life without your conscious direction. The breath regulators are your lungs, the recycling systems are your blood and kidneys, the control center is your calm and patient mind. Even when you are asleep, all of it continues in perfect order. You are a vessel built for long journeys, designed by millions of years of evolution, tested through every challenge that came before you. Tonight, you rest within that design. The space inside your thoughts begins to open wider, as if the ceiling above you has faded away. The air feels lighter, the darkness softer. There is no need to hold on to anything now. You can imagine floating, not falling, but drifting with the same patience as starlight crossing the galaxy. You are surrounded by warmth, even if the night air is cool. Every sound outside your window, every rustle, every distant hum, is part of the gentle atmosphere that holds you. You are not separate from the night, you are inside it. The stillness you feel now is older than humanity itself. Long before the first person looked up at the Milky Way, the universe already carried this same quiet tone. Stars were forming, galaxies were turning, and silence filled the spaces in between. You are hearing that same silence now, the same cosmic rhythm translated into the beating of your heart. In every moment of calm, you are aligned with that pattern. It requires no effort, no concentration, only trust that the universe knows how to rest, and that you can rest within it too. As you continue to breathe slowly, notice how your body becomes heavier, yet somehow lighter at the same time. The muscles settle into the surface beneath you, releasing their small tensions one by one. The deeper layers of your mind begin to drift towards sleep, though you may not notice when it happens. Sleep is like the edge of space itself, you never see the boundary, you only cross it gently, unaware. The conscious world fades like the twilight between day and night, and you enter the soft gravity of dreams. The sound of this voice is only a guide, a small light on the dashboard of your imagination. You may follow it, or you may let it fade away as you sink deeper into rest. There is no correct way to listen. You can remain fully awake and thoughtful, or you can allow the words to dissolve into a kind of music that carries you towards sleep. Whatever happens is right for you. There is no destination here, only the comfort of being in motion without effort, like a planet circling quietly, year after year. If your mind wanders toward other things, that is all right. Minds are meant to wander. They are explorers, curious by nature, forever reaching toward the next idea. But every explorer eventually returns home, and right now, your home is this calm space inside you. Let your curiosity rest for a while. The stars will still be there when you wake. The universe does not mind waiting. It has been waiting for billions of years for everything to unfold exactly as it has. You can afford to be patient with yourself too. The quiet that surrounds you is the same quiet that lies between galaxies, wide, stable, and forgiving. You might feel a small pulse in your hands or feet, a reminder that even in stillness, life continues. The atoms inside you, forged in ancient stars, are at peace now, resting from their long journey through time. You are not separate from that story. You are part of it, written into the fabric of the universe with every breath you take. Nothing more is required of you. You can simply be. If at any point you wish to come back to this place of rest, you can. These stories will be here, waiting, unchanged and quiet, like a familiar constellation in the night sky. You may listen again, or drift into silence without words. Both choices are beautiful. And if you've enjoyed this calm beginning, feel free to subscribe, or leave a like if you'd like, small gestures that help this shared space continue to exist. They are tiny signals, traveling through the digital sky, connecting one resting mind to another. Now, let everything slow even more. The breathing, the thinking, the idea that humanity might one day travel beyond our galaxy has lived in imagination for generations. We have drawn it in stories, filmed it in movies, and written it into dreams of endless exploration. But when we look closer, when we leave fiction behind and rest our thoughts within real distances and real time, we begin to sense how vast the universe truly is. The Milky Way, our galactic home, is so immense that even the speed of light, the fastest motion possible, takes 100,000 years to cross from one side to the other. For a human being who counts time in hours and years, that number is not just large, it is almost beyond meaning. To understand this scale, imagine driving a car along a cosmic highway at the speed of light, about 670 million miles per hour. You would leave the solar system in less than a day, but even then, the nearest star would still lie 4 years ahead. 4 years of light, not 4 years of travel in a rocket, but 4 years of pure light racing through perfect emptiness. And the edge of our galaxy, the quiet rim where the stars begin to thin out, would not be reached until millions upon millions of human generations had passed. Everything we know, every story, every civilization, would rise and vanish long before the journey could end. The numbers become too large to hold in thought, and the mind naturally drifts toward stillness. Humanity has always reached for what lies beyond sight. We built sails to cross oceans, engines to climb through air, and rockets to lift beyond the pull of gravity. Each step felt like breaking a boundary, yet each new horizon revealed another waiting ahead. Now, the distance to the next horizon is not measured in miles, but in light years. The challenge is no longer about courage or imagination, it is about the very structure of the universe itself. The space between galaxies is not an obstacle that can be crossed with enough fuel or determination, it is an ocean of nothing that expands faster than we can ever move. In that truth lies both a limit and a kind of quiet wonder. When we speak of leaving our galaxy, we often picture a single ship or a fleet of explorers heading toward another island of stars. It is a poetic image, full of adventure and possibility. Yet in physical terms, such a voyage would demand energies that no known process could sustain. The reality is slower, older, and more beautiful in its own way. The Milky Way is not a place to escape from, it is a self-contained world of endless depth, where each star, planet, and cloud of dust tells a story millions of years long. We do not need to leave it to experience infinity, the infinity is already here, surrounding us in every direction. Still, the question remains, could humanity ever find a way? Could we someday reach beyond the Milky Way, traveling through the black gulf that separates us from other galaxies? The mind resists a simple no. There is a natural desire to believe that anything is possible with time, intelligence, and hope. But when we begin to measure what would truly be required, the speeds, the energy, the lifespan of both travelers and machines, the vision fades into something quieter, more reflective. It becomes less a plan for travel, and more a meditation on scale, on patience, on what it means to exist within something we can never fully cross. Every era of exploration has faced its own horizon. For early sailors, the fear was that the world might end at the edge of the sea. For the astronauts of the 20th century, it was the boundary of Earth's gravity. Now, in the 21st, we look at the faint edge of the Milky Way and wonder if there is another shore beyond it. There is. Countless galaxies shimmer in the distance, but reaching them is not like crossing a sea. The space between galaxies is expanding faster than any ship could travel. Even light, the messenger of the cosmos, cannot bridge that gap once expansion carries those galaxies beyond our visible reach. They are moving away not through space, but with space itself. It is tempting to think of the universe as a map, full of destinations waiting for us. But the truth is gentler. The universe is more like a living ocean, where every drop is moving, stretching, and cooling with time. We are carried within that current, not standing outside of it. When we imagine leaving the Milky Way, we are imagining stepping out of the river of reality itself. There may never be a way to do so, not because we lack imagination, but because the universe does not allow it. Its structure is a kind of quiet boundary, soft but absolute. And within that boundary, we have an infinity to explore. Our tools for exploration, telescopes, satellites, probes, have already given us glimpses of places we will never touch. The James Webb Space Telescope now peers deep into time, capturing the faint light of galaxies born when the universe was young. Through it, we see thousands of cosmic islands floating in the dark, each one holding billions of suns. The images are breathtaking, but they are also humbling. The light reaching us tonight began its journey billions of years ago, before our planet had even formed. What we see now is the past, preserved in the slow language of light. The future of those galaxies, like our own, will unfold far beyond our reach. This knowledge does not make the dream of travel meaningless. Instead, it makes the dream sacred. Knowing that we cannot leave our galaxy turns our attention inward, toward what we already have. The stars of the Milky Way are not distant decorations, they are part of the same cosmic family that gave rise to our sun, to our planet, to us. The atoms that form our bodies were forged in their hearts, scattered through explosions, and gathered again into new worlds. In a quiet, literal way, we have already traveled across the galaxy, not as travelers, but as matter reborn. Every breath we take carries a trace of that ancient journey. To think about leaving our galaxy is to think about time itself. Our lives are short, measured in decades, while the processes that shape galaxies unfold over billions of years. In human terms, the Milky Way is eternal. Its arms will continue to rotate, its stars will be born and die, and its clusters will drift slowly through space long after the memory of Earth has faded. The challenge we face is not how to escape this scale, but how to find peace within it. Our place in the galaxy is not at the edge of possibility, but at the heart of it, the part that can look, feel, and understand. Even if humanity were to last for 1,000,000 years, the galaxy would remain mostly unexplored. The nearest stars alone number in the thousands, and each one could have its own worlds, its own stories. The more we see, the larger the unknown becomes. And yet, this endlessness does not need to frustrate us. It can soothe us. When we accept that we cannot reach every destination, we begin to appreciate the beauty of simply observing. There is something deeply human in the wish to go farther. It is the same impulse that led us to the moon, that keeps us sending probes to the outer planets, that draws us to look at the sky on clear nights. But there is also wisdom in knowing our limits. To never leave our galaxy does not mean we are trapped. It means we live in a space so large that we will never exhaust its wonders. Each star is a destination. Each cloud of dust is a landscape. Each photon is a messenger from a different corner of our shared home. We are explorers, even when we stay still. And so, the central promise of this story is not about failure or impossibility. It is about acceptance, patience, and awe. The truth that we will likely never leave our galaxy is not sad. It is gentle. It reminds us that the universe does not need to be conquered to be understood. It asks only that we look, that we listen, that we slow down enough to notice the quiet miracle of being here at all. The challenge before us is not to outrun the stars, but to live meaningfully beneath them. The Milky Way is our sea, our cradle, our horizon. It is made of everything that has ever existed in our part of space, and it will continue to evolve long after we are gone. Within it, every human life is a spark, brief and bright. And though we will never cross the gulf to another galaxy, our light, our signals, our stories, our thoughts, already travel outward, mingling with the starlight of 100 billion suns. That is the true journey. We are not leaving, we are unfolding, one quiet wave at a time. So as you rest here, listening and breathing, hold this image in your mind, the Milky Way turning slowly in the darkness, a vast spiral of light that holds us, defines us, and shelters us. Somewhere inside it, a small planet moves around a small star, carrying everything we have ever known. That is our home. That is our entire history, written in light and time. We may dream of leaving, but perhaps the greater dream is to stay, to understand this place so deeply that we no longer wish to escape it. And as the story continues, we will look closer at why that boundary exists, the distances, the forces, the laws that make travel between galaxies an almost impossible dream. We will see how energy, speed, and time create walls that even imagination cannot easily cross. But for now, it is enough to know that the challenge is real, and that within it lies a kind of quiet truth. The universe is vast, but we are part of it. The Milky Way is our horizon, and within it, there is endless room to wander. When we speak about traveling beyond our galaxy, we begin with the same physical rule that shapes everything in the universe: nothing can move faster than light. It is a limit not set by technology or imagination, but by the structure of space and time itself. Light travels at nearly 186,000 miles per second, a speed so great that it could circle the Earth more than 7 times in a single heartbeat. Yet even at that unimaginable pace, crossing the Milky Way would take 100,000 years. That is the quiet boundary of nature, the edge that no engine, no dream, no determination can cross more quickly. To understand how enormous this limitation is, imagine the fastest object humanity has ever launched, the Parker Solar Probe. It travels at more than 430,000 miles per hour, an achievement beyond anything our ancestors could have conceived. But even at that speed, it would take more than 6,000 years just to reach the nearest star. The distances between stars are not simply large, they are vast beyond all ordinary meaning. They stretch across scales that dissolve every measure we know, turning speed itself into something that feels almost motionless. In that immensity, even light feels slow. We often think of space as a kind of empty field waiting to be crossed, but in truth, it is more like a frozen ocean of distance. The gap between one star and another is so wide that no path, no shortcut, no hidden tunnel can reduce it. Every photon, every atom, moves according to the same patient rhythm. The laws of physics do not change for anyone, not for civilizations, not for galaxies. They are the silent rules written into the fabric of everything that exists. And within those rules, the speed of light stands as a kind of quiet guardian, not cruel, not unfair, simply constant. This speed limit might seem like a barrier designed to frustrate our dreams, but it is the reason the universe has structure at all. If light could move infinitely fast, gravity would have no rhythm, and time itself would lose its meaning. In practice, this means that even the most advanced ships we could ever build would still move slowly on a galactic scale. They could circle our solar system, visit nearby stars over centuries, perhaps even carry human life to a small handful of distant worlds. But beyond that lies a space so large that motion itself loses meaning. The stars that look close together from Earth are, in truth, separated by distances so vast that communication between them would take years or centuries. Every journey, no matter how fast, becomes a conversation with time itself, a conversation where answers arrive long after the questions are forgotten. When we look at the night sky, the light from the stars seems immediate, but what we see is always old. Some of the light that reaches your eyes tonight began its journey when early humans first learned to make fire. Other starlight left its home long before Earth existed. In this sense, the night sky is not a view of space, but a history of light. Each point of brightness is a memory traveling across time, carrying with it the slow rhythm of the cosmos. The idea of crossing those distances becomes almost poetic, not something to achieve, but something to contemplate. There is also the matter of acceleration itself. Even if we could build a ship that could reach near light speeds, we would need to accelerate so gently that the passengers inside would survive. If we tried to reach that speed too quickly, the forces involved would crush everything within. So we would need to accelerate for years, perhaps decades, until we approached the desired velocity. Then, once we neared our destination, we would need to slow down again, a process that would take just as long, requiring as much energy to stop as it did to start. The trip would be measured not in moments, but in generations. The more we study these distances, the more the mind begins to quiet. There comes a point where imagination gives way to acceptance, where the numbers no longer feel like obstacles but invitations to humility. The universe is not designed for our convenience, yet it remains open to our wonder. It does not need to be crossed to be beautiful. The very fact that it exists at all, that we can see it, measure it, and dream within it, is enough. The speed of light, the vastness of distance, the slowness of cosmic time, all of these are part of the same calm pattern that allows life to exist and awareness to grow. In that way, the physical limit becomes something more than a rule, it becomes a rhythm. Everything in the cosmos moves within that rhythm. Stars orbit their centers, planets circle stars, galaxies drift through space, all bound by the same gentle law. The fact that we can know this, that we can even say the words "speed of light" and understand what they mean, is already a triumph of the human mind. We have reached farther with our understanding than we ever will with our ships. Knowledge itself has become our form of travel, a kind of mental motion that needs no engines and no fuel. As you think about this limit, try to feel its calmness rather than its restriction. The galaxies are not racing away from us, they are moving in their natural pace. The stars around us are not waiting to be visited, they are living their own quiet lives, burning and fading according to their nature. The universe is at peace with its own rules, and we are part of that peace. When we accept the slowness, we begin to hear the silent rhythm that connects everything, a rhythm that has no beginning and no end. In that stillness, the desire to rush fades, replaced by a quiet appreciation of what already is. The truth that we cannot move faster than light does not make us small. It simply defines our scale. On that scale, the solar system becomes our neighborhood, the nearby stars our distant cousins, and the galaxy our vast home. We are not outside of it, not separate from it, but entirely within it. Every journey we can make, whether by ship or telescope or thought, happens inside this great spiral of stars. The impossibility of leaving it does not confine us, it anchors us. It gives us a place to belong within the endless dark. So when we ask why humanity will never leave our galaxy, the first answer is simple and gentle, because the universe moves at its own speed, and we move within it. The laws that govern light, time, and space are not enemies to overcome but companions to understand. The limit of speed is the heartbeat of the cosmos, and within that steady beat, we find our rhythm too. We do not need to outrun it. We only need to listen. The Milky Way will keep turning slowly, carrying us with it, through the quiet eternity of space. Every journey, no matter how small, begins with energy. On Earth, energy is something we can store, carry, or create, the gasoline that drives a car, the electricity that powers a home, the sunlight that warms a field. But in space, energy becomes something far more delicate. It is the quiet heartbeat of motion itself, the invisible thread that decides how far we can travel and how long we can survive. To leave Earth is to fight gravity, to leave the sun is to fight the pull of an entire star, and to leave the Milky Way would mean pushing against the collective gravity of billions of suns. Every mile outward demands more energy than the one before. When rockets lift from the ground, they carry their own fuel, burning it in rapid bursts to escape the planet's hold. Each drop of that fuel becomes heat, light, and force, a brief explosion that propels the ship upward. But even in those few minutes of flight, most of the rocket's mass is fuel itself. The deeper into space we wish to go, the more fuel we must bring, and the heavier the craft becomes. This creates a quiet paradox that has followed space travel since its beginning: the more fuel we carry, the harder it becomes to move. The farther we dream of going, the more energy we need just to carry the energy itself. If we could step outside time for a moment and look at the mathematics of it, we would see how severe this balance is. The rocket equation, a simple but relentless truth, shows that small increases in speed require enormous increases in fuel. To reach even 1/10 the speed of light would require fuel masses larger than entire planets, no matter what we used. The problem is not only weight, but efficiency. No chemical reaction known to science can release enough energy to sustain such motion. The engines that lift us from Earth are already near the limits of what chemistry can achieve. Beyond that, we must look to nuclear power or to matter itself. Matter, as Einstein taught us, holds unimaginable energy within it. A single pound of material, if completely converted to energy, could power a city for days. Yet no process we can control allows that to happen cleanly. Fission splits atoms and releases only a fraction of that stored power. Fusion, the reaction that powers the stars, remains beyond our reach in a sustained form. Even if we could build a fusion engine, that radiation, invisible but constant, becomes another form of limitation. A ship traveling through space would need to release its waste heat to avoid overheating, but the faster it moves, the harder that becomes. Heat can only escape as light, and at near-light speeds, even that process becomes slow. The ship would begin to glow, first faintly, then fiercely, until its structure could no longer bear the temperature. Energy is never free, every watt used to move forward must eventually be released. This balance between power and heat is one of the quiet, inescapable equations that define what is possible. In the vast emptiness between stars, energy is the most precious resource. There are no refueling stations, no reservoirs to draw from. A spacecraft must carry everything it needs, not only fuel to move, but power to maintain life, light, and warmth. On Earth, we are surrounded by an ocean of energy sources: sunlight, wind, running water, fossil fuels. But in deep space, sunlight becomes faint, and nothing moves except what we bring with us. To survive there means to plan every calorie of energy as carefully as a breath of air. The further from the sun we travel, the darker it becomes, until even the strongest solar panels fall silent. Some imagine that one day we might collect fuel from the stars themselves, gathering hydrogen from the thin interstellar medium that fills the galaxy. But that gas is too sparse, too thin, spread across miles of nothing. A ship would need a scoop the size of planets to collect enough hydrogen for fusion. The effort to gather energy would consume more energy than it produced. It becomes another quiet loop, another balance that cannot be broken. The universe, in its fairness, offers no easy path to perpetual motion. Energy must always be taken from somewhere, and its cost is always real. The Voyager probes, now far beyond the outer planets, have already shown us what happens when energy runs out. Their tiny nuclear power sources, once strong, are slowly fading as the isotopes within them decay. The instruments dim one by one. The heaters that protect their circuits grow colder. In time, they will fall silent completely, drifting through the dark without power or message. Even with the best technology we have ever built, energy still defines the border between motion and stillness, between life and silence. It is the slow ticking of the cosmic clock. When scientists speak about interstellar travel, they often turn to energy first, because it decides everything else. Even if we built a perfect engine, we would need fuel with energy density far beyond anything known today. The energy released by the most efficient chemical fuel is only a few millionths of what would be required to reach nearby stars. To travel faster, we would need to find ways to use nuclear reactions or even antimatter, which could, in theory, release almost all of its mass as energy. But antimatter is rare and fragile. Every atom we make consumes more power to create than it could ever return. It is a mirror dream, beautiful but unreachable. There is also the quiet question of containment. Storing energy in large quantities is like trying to hold lightning in your hands. Batteries leak, fuels decay, and high-energy particles find their way through even the strongest materials. In space, radiation slowly breaks down everything it touches. The longer a mission lasts, the greater the risk of degradation. Even perfect systems lose strength over time. The energy that begins as potential slowly becomes heat, and heat slowly becomes equilibrium, the universal drift toward balance that defines all physical systems. This balance is not cruel, it is simply what keeps the cosmos steady. Stars burn their fuel slowly because they are held by gravity. When they exhaust it, they cool, collapse, or scatter their remains into new clouds of gas. Planets orbit their stars because energy is conserved, exchanged, never lost but always transformed. The same law that keeps the stars alive also keeps us bound within our galaxy. We cannot spend what the universe does not have to give. Every spark of motion must be earned, every acceleration balanced by the quiet pull of something else. To imagine a ship that could cross between galaxies, we would need an energy source so powerful that it could rewrite this balance. But such power might not be survivable. The heat, radiation, and pressure required to sustain near-light travel would tear apart any known material. Space itself resists such motion, not through force, but through the simple truth that energy and mass are linked. If you listen closely now, you can almost feel that current, not as sound or motion, but as calm awareness. The warmth of your body, the slow rhythm of your breath, the faint hum of electrical life around you, all of it is energy in motion, quiet and endless. The same principles that bind the stars are flowing through you now. You are part of the great conservation of the cosmos, part of the same equilibrium that keeps everything turning. There is no need to reach beyond it. Energy has already brought you home. To imagine human beings traveling beyond the Milky Way, we must first imagine them surviving the long journey through the darkness between stars. It is easy to picture a spacecraft gliding silently through the void, but far harder to imagine the fragile ecosystem within it. Every living thing depends on air, water, food, and warmth, elements that Earth provides so naturally that we almost forget their value. In space, none of these exist freely. Every breath must be recycled, every drop of water must be reclaimed, every piece of food must be grown under artificial light. The ship would not only need to move through space, it would need to carry a small, self-contained version of Earth inside it. The air that fills our lungs on Earth is constantly renewed by the planet itself. Plants turn carbon dioxide into oxygen, the oceans release and absorb gases, the winds mix and refresh the atmosphere. In space, that cycle must be rebuilt by hand. Every molecule of air inside a spacecraft becomes precious. Systems scrub carbon dioxide from the cabin, filter it, and return oxygen to the crew. Any leak, even a small one, could mean loss of pressure, loss of air, loss of life. The air does not move freely, it circulates through fans and filters, a quiet mechanical wind that must never stop. To keep a human being alive for decades, such systems would need to work flawlessly, without pause or failure, across generations. Water follows the same rule. On Earth, it flows endlessly through clouds and rivers, through rain and oceans, returning always to where it began. But in the deep vacuum of space, water is as rare and vital as light. It must be gathered, purified, reused again and again. The International Space Station already does this, turning humidity, sweat, and even breath into clean drinking water. The process is astonishingly efficient, but it still requires energy, maintenance, and care. For a ship traveling between stars, the system would need to last not for months, but for centuries, perhaps for thousands of years. Every molecule of water would need to be guarded like treasure. Then there is food, the quiet rhythm of nourishment that every living body depends upon. On Earth, food grows through the delicate balance of soil, sunlight, air, and gravity. In a spacecraft, all of those things must be recreated artificially. Plants must grow under electric light, their roots anchored in nutrient gels or aerated water. The light must mimic the warmth of the sun, and the carbon dioxide from the crew must feed the plants that, in turn, create oxygen. It is a perfect, fragile circle, one that must continue without interruption for as long as the journey lasts. If even one link breaks, the balance of life collapses. These cycles, air, water, food, are what make Earth a living planet. They are simple in appearance but infinitely complex in function. To copy them in a sealed metal shell drifting through the void is perhaps the greatest challenge humanity could ever face. Every system would need backups. Every backup would need its own source of power. Over time, materials degrade, filters clog, and sensors fail. Even if the machinery could be made perfect, the human beings inside would still depend on it completely. Their lives would become one long conversation with maintenance, checking, repairing, adjusting, a rhythm as endless as the spinning of stars. The question of time becomes part of this challenge. A journey beyond our galaxy would take so long that no single generation could complete it. The people who launched the ship would never live to see its arrival. Their children, and their children's children, would inherit the task of keeping the systems alive. The ship would become not a vessel of travel, but a home, a world of its own, small but complete. The knowledge of how to maintain life would need to be passed down like language or tradition, a ritual of survival written into culture. Over centuries, the original purpose of the journey might even fade, replaced by the simple, sacred duty to continue living. In this way, the ship becomes more like a floating ecosystem than a machine. It would have its own weather, its own rhythm of light and dark, its own small version of time. Artificial gravity might be created by rotation, creating a gentle pull that lets people walk as they do on Earth. Lights would dim and brighten to mark days and nights, even though the ship itself moved through an endless darkness where no sun ever rises. Inside, the warmth and air would create a thin bubble of life. Outside, there would be silence colder than anything the human body could imagine. The contrast would be constant and profound, a moving reminder of how precious even one breath can be. The challenge of keeping humans alive is not just physical but psychological. People are not designed for perfect control or endless repetition. We are creatures of variation, of seasons, weather, change. On Earth, even the quietest landscape is alive with movement, wind in the trees, clouds in the sky, tides and shadows shifting through the day. A spacecraft cannot offer those endless small differences. The view outside would remain the same for generations, the slow drift of stars, unchanging, beautiful, and silent. The interior, no matter how carefully designed, would always be the same corridors, the same walls, the same hum of machines. To live in such a place would require not only physical strength, but emotional balance. People would need to find meaning not in progress, but in maintenance. Life would become a careful tending, of systems, of plants, of each other. The idea of exploration would give way to the practice of preservation. And perhaps that is the quiet truth behind space travel itself, that to survive, humanity must become more patient than it has ever been. The rhythm of repair, the cycle of renewal, would replace the old rhythm of discovery. The heroes of this journey would not be explorers but caretakers. Even the smallest details would matter. The temperature of the air, the level of humidity, the balance of nutrients in the water, all would need to. Yet, despite these difficulties, there is a kind of beauty in imagining such a system functioning perfectly. Picture a ship quietly turning through the darkness, its lights glowing softly from within. Inside, plants grow in long green corridors, their leaves moving gently in artificial breezes. Children play in small open spaces, their laughter echoing softly through the metallic halls. The air smells faintly of soil and warmth, the same way it does on Earth after rain. Somewhere, an engineer adjusts a valve, checks a sensor, and ensures that the cycle continues. Life, fragile yet persistent, endures in its small bubble against the endless dark. If such a ship could exist, it would be a microcosm of Earth itself, a complete ecosystem enclosed within walls, endlessly recycling its own materials. Every molecule of air would be ancient and familiar, breathed and rebreathed through generations. Every drop of water would carry a history older than memory. Even the light that nourished the plants would come from the same energy that once left the sun. In this sense, a spacecraft is not a departure from Earth but a condensation of it, a distilled version of the planet's life systems carried into the stars. And yet, the longer we imagine it, the more we see how fragile that balance truly is. Earth's biosphere has survived for billions of years because it is vast, diverse, and self-correcting. A single spacecraft, no matter how carefully built, would be a miniature copy of that system, delicate, closed, and vulnerable. A small disruption could ripple through the entire structure. A disease among crops, a malfunction in a generator, a tiny leak in a storage tank, any of these could become irreversible. Without the endless redundancy of nature, every correction would depend on human vigilance. Over centuries, even perfection would drift toward failure. This is why long-term human survival beyond the solar system remains an unsolved problem. Machines can be built to last decades, but not centuries without repair. Life support systems can recycle, but not indefinitely without replacement parts. A journey across galaxies would require not only the preservation of life, but the preservation of the ability to maintain life, an unbroken chain of care and knowledge stretching farther than history itself. It is a challenge that belongs not to engineering alone, but to philosophy, patience, and the quiet endurance of the human spirit. Still, the thought of it brings a kind of calm. The image of life sustained against the backdrop of endless darkness is both fragile and eternal. It reminds us that existence anywhere, even here on Earth, is the same miracle in miniature. We are all traveling through the galaxy on a living spacecraft, this planet, with its air, its oceans, its forests and cities, its fragile layers of balance. The same systems that would sustain a ship are already sustaining us now. The difference is only one of scale. We are already living within a vessel, already maintaining its cycles, already learning how to keep it alive. To leave our galaxy would require more than technology. It would require a complete mastery of balance, of ecology, of time. We would need to learn how to keep an entire world alive forever, with no outside help, no resupply, no pause. And perhaps that is the quiet lesson hidden within this dream, that before we can survive the void between galaxies, we must first learn to live fully within the one world we already have. The same care we would need for a spacecraft is the care our planet needs now: vigilance, respect, renewal, and balance. The practice of survival is universal. So as you picture that ship drifting through darkness, imagine it not as something distant or impossible, but as a reflection of Earth itself. The quiet hum of systems becomes the wind through trees. The glow of artificial light becomes the color of dawn. The recycling of water becomes the rain, and the care of people becomes the same love that sustains life everywhere. The stars outside may remain unreachable, but within our small bubble of air and warmth, life continues, delicate, constant, and infinitely precious. And when you breathe now, as you listen, you are part of that same cycle. The air that fills your lungs tonight was once breathed by other living things, perhaps even by ancient forests or oceans long gone. It is the same air that connects every being on Earth. To imagine keeping that air alive forever is to imagine keeping the whole world alive. In that sense, the challenge of life support is not just a scientific problem, but a reflection of the greatest truth of all, that life, in any form, is a circle that must be tended gently, endlessly, and with care. In the quiet darkness of deep space, far from the protection of any planet, there is a kind of invisible weather that never stops. It is not made of wind or rain, but of energy, streams of charged particles moving at nearly the speed of light. These particles come from many sources: the sun, exploding stars, distant galaxies. They are called cosmic rays, and they fill the space between stars like a gentle but constant storm. On Earth, our atmosphere and magnetic field shield us from most of them, turning what would be deadly radiation into harmless traces. But beyond that shield, beyond the thin blue air that wraps our world, they are everywhere, moving silently through the void. Radiation in space is not like heat or light that you can see or feel. It passes through matter the way wind passes through grass, invisible but powerful. To protect against radiation, we need shielding, layers of material that absorb or scatter the incoming particles before they reach the body. On Earth, we use concrete, lead, or water to block radiation from reactors or medical devices. But in space, every pound of shielding adds weight, and every pound of weight demands more fuel. A spacecraft designed for long travel would need to find the balance between safety and mass. Thick walls could protect its crew but would make it too heavy to accelerate efficiently. Thin walls would save energy but leave people exposed to radiation from every direction. It becomes another quiet equation, one that cannot be solved completely, only managed with care and compromise. Water is one of the best natural shields against radiation, and it is also essential for life. Some designs for future spacecraft imagine storing water or fuel around living areas, creating a protective layer that serves both purposes. But even that has limits. The most energetic cosmic rays can pass through feet of shielding, breaking atoms apart as they go, creating secondary radiation that can be just as dangerous. No material can block them entirely. The only perfect shield would be gravity itself, the kind of deep, massive field that planets and stars provide. To leave those fields is to leave safety behind. There is also the sun, which sends out bursts of radiation during solar flares and coronal mass ejections. These are sudden storms of charged particles that can fill the solar system with dangerous energy. On Earth, they create auroras and sometimes disrupt satellites and power grids. But in space, without a planet's protection, such an event could flood a spacecraft with lethal radiation in minutes. Astronauts could retreat to shielded chambers, surrounded by water or supplies, but even then the exposure could be severe. The challenge is not only surviving one event but surviving many, over years, with systems that must predict and respond to them without fail. And beyond the solar system, the radiation becomes even more constant and relentless. The galaxy itself is filled with particles born in ancient explosions, the remnants of stars that lived and died long before the sun. These cosmic rays travel endlessly, carrying the memory of those distant fires. They are like the faint background music of the universe, always present, always playing, shaping the chemistry of everything they touch. Even the atoms in our bodies bear traces of their influence. We are, in a quiet way, already marked by the radiation of the stars. To travel through the galaxy is to travel through that history, to move within the very breath of the cosmos itself. For a human crew, long-term exposure would mean slow, unseen transformation. Cells would accumulate damage faster than they could repair it. Bones and tissues would weaken, the immune system would struggle, and the mind itself might begin to feel the strain. The danger is not only physical but psychological. Living in a place where the air, the walls, even the light carries traces of invisible danger would weigh on anyone. It would be like living under a silent storm that never ends. Every journey outward would become a meditation on fragility, on what it means to live inside a body made for one world while moving through another. Some might imagine solving the problem through technology, by building stronger materials, by creating magnetic fields around ships, or by inventing new forms of protection we do not yet understand. These ideas hold promise, but they also face the same quiet truth: radiation is part of the universe itself. It is not an enemy to be destroyed but a condition to be endured. We can lessen its effects, but we cannot erase it. It is the background hum of existence, the echo of creation. The universe itself is radioactive, glowing faintly in every corner with the traces of what it once was. To travel through it is to accept that glow, to live within it with care. If we could see radiation with our eyes, the night sky would look very different. It would shimmer with invisible energy, filled with rays and particles crossing every direction. Each beam would tell a story, of a supernova that exploded millions of years ago, of a quasar shining in a distant galaxy, of the birth and death of stars. The spaces between stars would not be empty but alive with motion. In that light, we would realize that the cosmos is never still, never silent. Every particle is a traveler, carrying information across the deep ocean of time. We are surrounded by the remnants of everything that has ever happened. This awareness can feel both humbling and comforting. The same radiation that would threaten a spacecraft also shapes the chemistry of new worlds. Cosmic rays strike clouds of gas, sparking reactions that create the building blocks of life: amino acids, organic molecules, complex carbon structures. The forces that seem dangerous to us are also creative on a cosmic scale. Without radiation, there would be no life at all. It is both a destroyer and a creator, a balance written into the nature of things. Understanding this balance allows us to see danger as part of the same harmony that makes life possible. In the long term, a generation ship moving through interstellar space might find ways to adapt. Its outer layers could be built from self-healing materials, slowly repairing damage from radiation. Its internal spaces could rotate or move to reduce exposure. Artificial intelligence could monitor every particle, adjusting fields and shielding as needed. Yet even then, perfection would remain unreachable. Over thousands of years, radiation would find its way in. Molecules would shift, electronics would degrade, and the physical memory of the ship itself would slowly change. The galaxy leaves its fingerprints on everything that moves through it. For robotic explorers, the problem is simpler but not absent. Even without biology to protect, radiation damages circuits, corrupts data, and weakens materials. The Voyager spacecraft, now more than 14 billion miles from Earth, has endured decades of radiation exposure. Its instruments degrade slowly, its systems aging in the cosmic storm. The fact that it still speaks to us at all is a kind of quiet miracle. Yet one day it too will fall silent, its circuits changed by the very radiation that— And yet, there is a certain peace in knowing that radiation is also light, a form of communication across eternity. When a star explodes, it sends out particles and photons that will travel for millions of years before touching anything. When they finally reach a distant planet or a ship or even a human hand, the story of that explosion is told again. We are always surrounded by messages from the universe, written not in words but in energy. Every cosmic ray, every beam of radiation, is a letter from the past, reminding us that we are part of something far older and far larger than ourselves. In this way, the danger of radiation becomes part of the wonder of existence. It is a reminder that life is precious precisely because it is rare, fragile, and temporary. The same forces that threaten us also connect us to the stars that made us. The particles that could harm our cells are the same ones that built our world. To travel beyond the galaxy would mean to face those forces directly, without the shelter of Earth. It would mean accepting the universe as it truly is, vast, indifferent, and yet somehow filled with meaning. As you breathe and imagine this, let yourself feel the calm of acceptance. The universe is not cruel. It is simply complete. Radiation, like gravity, like light, is part of its balance. It does not seek to harm or to help, it simply exists, carrying the memory of creation. In its presence, we are reminded that every living thing on Earth survives through a delicate partnership with the cosmos, protected, yet exposed, safe, yet vulnerable. That balance is what makes life beautiful. To understand it is to rest in the quiet truth that we do not control the universe, we live within it, peacefully, for a short and shining moment. Time is the quiet rhythm of everything. On Earth, it moves with the turning of the planet, the rising of the sun, the cycle of seasons. We measure it in hours, days, and years, as if it were a simple flow from one moment to the next. But in the wider universe, time is not a single current. It bends, stretches, and changes depending on where you are and how fast you move. It is both constant and relative, a silent fabric that connects all events but does not treat them equally. The faster we travel, the slower time becomes, not as a metaphor, but as a real, measurable truth. Einstein's theory of relativity showed us that space and time are not separate things. They are part of one connected reality, a smooth surface that can bend under the weight of matter and energy. The more massive an object, the more it distorts this surface, and the slower time moves near it. The faster something travels, the more time slows down for it compared to those who remain still. It is a strange idea, yet one proven again and again through experiment and observation. Time, it turns out, is flexible. It does not belong to clocks or calendars. It belongs to the universe itself. For travelers moving near the speed of light, this means that their experience of time would be very different from ours. Imagine a ship leaving Earth and accelerating to a speed close to light. To those aboard, the years might pass slowly, their lives stretching comfortably across decades. But when they return, if they could, they would find that centuries or even millennia had passed on Earth. The people they knew, the languages they spoke, the very world they remembered would be gone. The travelers would not feel older, but the universe around them would. It is a kind of quiet isolation that no distance alone could create. This effect, called time dilation, has already been measured. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station, moving at 17,000 miles per hour, experience time slightly slower than those on Earth, just fractions of a second over a year. The difference is small but real. On a ship traveling at a significant fraction of the speed of light, those fractions would grow into years. For the crew, a journey to a distant star might seem to last only a few decades. For everyone else, it would take hundreds or thousands of years. Time becomes personal, different for each observer, no longer shared in the way we are used to. For a mission beyond our galaxy, time dilation would shape every part of existence. Communication with Earth would already be impossible across such distances, but relativity adds another layer of separation. Messages sent back would arrive not just late but centuries too late, perhaps after the senders themselves were long forgotten. The travelers would continue forward into a future that no one else could follow. Even if they turned back, they would be returning not to the world they left but to a new one, changed beyond recognition. It is a journey not only through space, but through time itself. This reality transforms what travel means. On Earth, we think of journeys as movements between places. We leave, we arrive, and between the two, time flows the same for everyone. But in the cosmic scale, travel is also movement through time, bending it, stretching it, separating one group of travelers from another forever. A ship moving at high speed is like a small island carried by a different current of time. Inside, life continues as usual, meals, sleep, work, conversation, while outside, the universe rushes ahead. It is a quiet and irreversible kind of distance. The paradox of relativity is that, for the traveler, the journey may seem short. The faster you go, the shorter the distance appears. To those aboard, stars would seem to move closer as space itself contracts along the direction of travel. From their perspective, the trip might take only years. To imagine this is to see the universe not as a fixed stage but as a living fabric, stretching and curving under its own weight. Each motion, each burst of light, each particle contributes to that shape. We exist as small ripples on its surface, moving with it without ever stepping outside. Time does not simply pass, it is woven into every atom, every vibration, every thought. When we speak of the future or the past, we are describing places on that fabric. They are real, but separated from us by the direction we call time. Traveling faster would not change the fabric, it would only bend our path upon it. In human terms, these ideas can feel distant and abstract. But they touch our daily lives in ways we may not notice. Every GPS satellite in orbit must account for relativity to function correctly. The clocks aboard them tick differently from those on the ground because they move faster and experience weaker gravity. Without adjusting for these effects, the system would drift out of sync within hours. The fact that our technology already depends on relativity reminds us that these are not mere theories. They are part of the hidden machinery of the universe that quietly shapes our experience of time. Yet even knowing this, we still live by the rhythm of ordinary moments, mornings, evenings, seasons, years. Time feels steady because we move together through the same gravitational field, at roughly the same speed. It is a shared illusion of simplicity, a harmony of local clocks that beat as one. But when we look outward, we see that harmony break apart. A galaxy billions of miles away is not just distant in space but distant in time. We see it as it was long ago, because its light has taken so long to reach us. Looking at the night sky is looking into history. Every star is a window into a different moment of the past. For a traveler crossing those distances, that sense of history would become immediate. They would see the stars ahead moving not only in position but in time. Some would be younger than when they left, others would already have vanished. The universe they left behind would no longer exist. To travel far enough is to lose the possibility of return, not because of distance, but because time itself does not wait. Every second spent moving forward is a second that changes everything behind. The past becomes unreachable, and the future becomes something unknown, unfolding at its own pace. The idea of returning home after a long journey loses meaning under relativity. Home, in this sense, would no longer exist in the same form. Those who left would belong to one timeline, those who remained would belong to another. The connection between them would be as faint as starlight, a reminder of what once was, but no longer is. And perhaps this is the most profound truth of all, that the universe is not a place we travel through, but a process we move within. We do not move across it, it moves through us, carrying us forward through the current of time. To understand this is not to feel despair, but wonder. Time is not an obstacle but a companion. It gives meaning to change, to growth, to memory. The fact that it cannot be reversed or escaped is what makes life precious. If we could move freely through time, nothing would have value, everything would exist at once, and nothing would evolve. The slowness of time, its persistence and its flow, is what allows the universe to tell its story. Each moment is a page that can be turned only once. That is not limitation, it is beauty. When we think of relativity, we are reminded that time is deeply connected to perspective. For the traveler, the journey may feel brief, for the observer, endless. Both are right. Both are true. The universe allows each to experience their own reality without contradiction. This flexibility is not chaos but harmony, the quiet agreement that existence is large enough to hold many truths at once. Time does not argue. It moves patiently, carrying every experience within it, never repeating, never rushing. It is the most constant companion the cosmos has ever known. If humanity ever attempted to travel beyond the Milky Way, the journey would not only be through space but through ages. The travelers would see stars evolve and fade that never existed when they left. They would arrive in a galaxy changed by billions of years of time. They would be strangers in their own universe. Perhaps, somewhere along that path, they would stop thinking of return at all. They would become part of time's greater flow, continuing forward with the same calm persistence as light itself. In the stillness of the cosmos, they would find a kind of eternity, not by escaping time, but by surrendering to it. And here, in our quiet moment on earth, that truth can bring comfort. We are all travelers through time. Every heartbeat, every breath, is part of a journey that moves forward, never backward. We do not need to reach other galaxies to experience the wonder of relativity, it lives in every sunrise, every shadow, every heartbeat. The slow passing of days is the gentle version of the same law that bends light around stars and stretches time at the edge of black holes. We are part of that same rhythm, small and temporary, yet connected to everything. So, as you breathe now and imagine the endless distances between stars, remember that you are also moving, not through space, but through time. The Earth is turning, the Sun is moving through the galaxy, and the galaxy itself drifts slowly through the universe. Time carries all of it, quietly, effortlessly. You are not separate from that motion. You are part of it, living within the gentle curve of relativity, surrounded by the calm certainty that everything moves exactly as it must. There is no rush to understand. The future will arrive in its own time, and so will you. Imagine a ship sailing through the ocean at night with no landmarks, no lights, and no shore to see. The only way to stay on course is to look up at the stars and trust that they will not move. On Earth, that has always been enough. Sailors have crossed seas by reading the constellations, pilots have traveled across continents guided by the same steady points of light. But in deep space, the stars themselves are not still. They drift over thousands and millions of years, pulled gently by gravity, changing position in ways too slow. Navigation in space begins with precision. The smallest mistake in direction, an angle so slight that it would seem meaningless on Earth, can grow into a vast error over time. A ship heading toward a star could miss it by billions of miles if its course drifts even slightly. In the empty distances between stars, there are no landmarks to correct by, no radio signals from familiar worlds. The craft must carry within it the tools to know exactly where it is and where it is going, even when years or centuries separate it from its point of origin. To move through such a silent sea requires faith in mathematics, in sensors, in the quiet logic of the universe itself. The stars may look eternal, but they move through the galaxy just as we do. Each one follows its own orbit around the center, some faster, some slower, creating patterns that slowly change over time. A map made today will not be accurate a million years from now. Even the gravitational pull of unseen matter, the dark mass that fills the galaxy, subtly bends the paths of stars and ships alike. For a spacecraft traveling over centuries, navigation becomes not a single calculation, but a continuous adjustment, a conversation with the invisible forces that shape everything. The journey itself becomes a living act of correction. We often imagine spacecraft as strong and precise, guided by perfect instruments that never fail. But in truth, every sensor, every computer, every circuit is vulnerable to the quiet chaos of time. Cosmic radiation can alter a single bit of data, a small error that multiplies until it changes the course of an entire ship. Mechanical parts wear out, gyroscopes drift, atomic clocks lose rhythm. Over years, these tiny imperfections accumulate. A ship that begins with flawless direction could, after centuries, be flying into darkness, following coordinates that no longer match the universe as it has become. In deep space, even perfection decays. On Earth, when something breaks, we repair it. We replace parts, consult engineers, share knowledge. But a ship crossing the stars would be too far for help. Its systems would have to be self-sufficient, capable of diagnosing and fixing their own problems without guidance. Redundancy would be essential, multiple backups for every system, overlapping networks of control and data. Yet redundancy adds mass, and mass demands more energy, and more energy creates more heat. The very act of making a system more reliable can make it more difficult to sustain. Each solution becomes another weight to carry through the dark. Some dream of ships guided by artificial intelligence, machines that can think, learn, and maintain themselves. It is an appealing idea, a vessel that repairs its own damage, corrects its own errors, keeps its crew safe while centuries pass outside. But even intelligence has limits. Data storage degrades, processors wear down, and software, no matter how advanced, must still run on physical hardware. Over hundreds or thousands of years, atoms shift, materials fatigue, and the ship itself changes. A living crew might teach new generations how to adapt, an artificial one would need to remember how to remember. Reliability in the long term is not just about machinery, but about understanding. Each generation of travelers would inherit systems they did not build, technologies that might have become mysteries. Manuals could be lost, languages could change, and meaning could fade. The ship would become a relic of its own origin, its operation dependent on rituals and traditions as much as on science. It is possible to imagine a society built inside such a vessel, where maintaining the engines and the navigation arrays becomes a sacred duty, passed down through stories rather than equations. The act of keeping course would merge with the act of preserving identity. In a way, this is already true on Earth. Our own planet is a kind of ship, moving through the galaxy with no pilot, guided only by the laws of gravity. The reliability of this cosmic vessel is beyond question, it has carried life for billions of years. But even here, systems fail. Species vanish, climates change, magnetic fields shift. We maintain balance not through control, but through adaptation. A starship attempting to cross the galaxy would need to do the same, to evolve with time, to learn from error, to find stability not in stasis but in resilience. The secret of survival in space is not perfection, but flexibility. Consider the smallest errors of motion. A drift of 1 inch per second would seem insignificant at first. Over a year, it would move a ship 1,500 miles from its intended path. Over 1,000 years, that error would grow to more than 1 billion miles. In a place where there is nothing to correct by, those distances become permanent. Navigation must therefore be an act of endless precision, of attention that never relaxes. Every sensor must stay awake, every signal verified, every calculation repeated. The ship becomes an instrument tuned to the frequency of the universe itself, following not stars but laws. The navigation of interstellar space would depend not only on what can be seen, but on what can be felt. Pulsars, distant, spinning remnants of collapsed stars, send out regular pulses of radio waves, like cosmic lighthouses. By measuring the timing of these signals, a spacecraft could know its position with astonishing accuracy. Yet even pulsars age. Their spin slows, their rhythm drifts, their signals fade into background noise. To navigate for millions of years would mean trusting guides that themselves are changing. Every reference in the universe, even the most stable, carries the mark of impermanence. Long-term reliability extends beyond navigation to every system that sustains life. Power must continue to flow, heat must be managed, air must be renewed. Pumps, filters, lights, and circuits, all must work without pause. Even the smallest machine failure could ripple outward into catastrophe. Designing for such endurance is not simply an engineering challenge, the navigation of time is as important as the navigation of space. A ship that lasts 1,000 years must survive not only physical strain but also the erosion of memory. Instructions must endure, values must persist, and purpose must remain clear. Without that continuity, the crew might forget why they travel at all. They could turn inward, creating myths about their origin, seeing the outside universe as legend. In that sense, the greatest threat to long-term reliability may not be mechanical failure, but the quiet drift of meaning. The human mind, after all, is as vulnerable to change as any machine. Even if every system could last forever, the galaxy itself would continue to evolve. Stars would shift, nebulae would dissolve, and the gravitational landscape would change. What was once a safe path might pass through new hazards, dense clusters of debris, wandering rogue planets, or clouds of radiation from supernovae. The journey would not be through empty space but through an environment that, on cosmic timescales, is alive and moving. Reliability would therefore mean adaptability, the ability to sense change and respond without losing direction. A perfect ship would be one that could learn. And still, there is peace in knowing that absolute precision is impossible. The universe allows for error, and sometimes it is through error that discovery occurs. A small deviation might lead to a new view, a new understanding of what lies beyond. Even a failed journey can reveal truths about the nature of existence. The act of trying to maintain course against the shifting gravity of galaxies becomes a metaphor for life itself, an endless attempt to hold direction in a moving universe. We are all navigators, each moment correcting our paths with the small wisdom we have. In the end, the question of navigation and reliability leads back to the same quiet realization that echoes through every part of this journey: nothing in the universe stands still. Every star, every atom, every plan we make is part of a constant flow. To move through it requires patience and trust, not in technology alone, but in the rhythm of the cosmos. The ship that lasts forever will not be the one that resists change, but the one that moves with it, adjusting its course as softly as a leaf floating on water. In that movement, it will find harmony with the endless sea of stars. And as you think of this, imagine yourself as part of that same voyage. You are moving, always, though you sit still. The earth spins, the sun drifts, the galaxy turns. Navigation, in the deepest sense, is the art of awareness, knowing that you are part of motion, even in stillness. Reliability, in the deepest sense, is faith, trusting that the systems of life, of mind, of nature, will hold long enough for you to witness the beauty around you. In this moment, you are both traveler and destination, guided not by maps, but by the quiet certainty that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. To imagine human beings living for generations inside a ship traveling through endless darkness is to imagine a life unlike anything we have ever known. On Earth, even in the most remote places, we are surrounded by the pulse of the world, wind, rain, seasons, and sound. We have the comfort of gravity beneath our feet and the constant presence of other living things. But in deep space, the environment offers none of these familiar rhythms. There is no morning or evening, no air that moves, no sound that carries. The silence outside a spacecraft is not peaceful in the way we know silence, it is absolute, a silence so deep that the human mind might begin to create its own noise just to fill the void. Every living creature on Earth evolved within the shared pattern of day and night, of light and darkness alternating in steady rhythm. That rhythm is built into our bodies. Our sleep, our moods, our sense of time, all follow the turning of the planet. In a ship drifting between the stars, that cycle disappears. Artificial light must become a new sun, artificial darkness a new night. The crew must live by clocks that measure time in a place where time no longer feels real. Days would blend together until only routine could tell them apart. The mind, deprived of change, begins to turn inward, creating its own landscapes, its own storms and calm seas. Isolation does not begin as loneliness. At first, it can even feel peaceful, a quiet space free from the noise of the world. But as time stretches on, the human need for connection begins to stir. We are social by nature, built to share stories, to read faces, to feel the presence of others. On Earth, that presence surrounds us constantly. In a spacecraft, it is limited to the few souls aboard, the same voices, the same movements, the same expressions, repeated day after day. Over years and decades, even friendship can become a kind of mirror, reflecting the same emotions until individuality blurs into repetition. The mind, hungry for variation, begins to drift. Astronauts who have spent only months in orbit describe a strange longing for nature, for the smell of soil, for the touch of wind, for the sight of an open horizon. On a generational ship, that longing would become part of life itself, passed down like memory from one generation to the next. People born in space would never have known rain or trees or open sky. Their only view would be the walls around them and the faint light of distant stars. For them, the idea of Earth might become legend, a story told in whispers, not as something real but as something dreamed. The concept of home would shift from a planet to the ship itself, from something vast to something small but familiar. The challenge of the mind in such a place is not simply boredom, but scale. The awareness of distance, of being so far from everything that once felt human, can create a quiet ache that no routine can soothe. The stars outside would be constant, yet unreachable. Communication with Earth, even if possible, would come with years of delay. Every message would arrive as an echo from the past, every reply a hope sent into the unknown. The ship's inhabitants would live in a world without present company, surrounded by the ghostly light of a home that no longer hears them. In that silence, identity itself would change. Psychologists who study isolation have long known how the mind seeks pattern. In long solitude, people begin to create their own voices, their own companions of thought. The imagination fills what reality lacks. In the quiet of deep space, that tendency could become the mind's way of survival. The crew might dream vividly, their subconscious weaving landscapes of memory and possibility. Dreams would become as important as waking life, a place where forests still existed, where oceans still moved, where gravity still held them close. Sleep would not be escape, it would be continuation, routine would become the foundation of stability. Every day would have its quiet tasks, maintaining systems, tending to plants, recording observations, cleaning, repairing, exercising. These actions would not only keep the ship alive but keep the mind anchored. Without structure, time could lose meaning, and meaning could dissolve into the vastness outside. The rhythm of small duties would create the illusion of control in a place where almost everything is beyond control. Within those tasks, each person might find peace, not in progress or change, but in repetition, in the comfort of continuity. Even so, the smallest variations would hold great importance. A new sprout in the hydroponic garden, a small sound in the machinery, a conversation that feels different from the day before, these would become events, markers in the flow of time. The mind, deprived of the rich variety of earth, would become sensitive to every subtle change. Over generations, this sensitivity could reshape human perception. What seems insignificant on earth might feel profound aboard such a ship. Every breath, every heartbeat, every new word could take on the weight of ceremony. The universe outside might be infinite, but meaning would live in the smallest details. The relationship between people in such an environment would also evolve. In close quarters, privacy would be rare. The boundaries between self and community would blur. Conflicts could not easily be avoided, emotions could not easily be hidden. Yet over time, a new kind of cooperation might emerge, one born not from convenience, but from necessity. Every person's well-being would depend directly on the others. Trust would become more valuable than gold, patience more necessary than air. To survive in isolation, humanity would need to rediscover gentleness, not as a choice, but as a way of life. The children born in space would grow up knowing only this way of being. For them, the idea of loneliness might not exist, because they would never have known a world large enough to feel alone in. The ship would be their landscape, its hum their weather, its cycles their seasons. They would measure life not in miles traveled but in generations sustained. Some might look out at the stars and feel awe, others might look and feel nothing at all. The universe would not be a dream of escape, but simply the quiet backdrop of existence. Their sense of reality would be smaller, but perhaps more peaceful. Still, the human mind has always longed for something beyond its walls. Curiosity is as natural to us as breathing. In deep space, that curiosity would turn inward. People might explore not geography, but consciousness, not new lands, but new forms of thought and meaning. Art, music, and philosophy could become essential not as luxuries, but as survival tools, helping to fill the vast silence with expression. A single melody might echo through the ship for centuries, passed from voice to voice, evolving with each generation. Creativity would become a way to remember what it means to be human. The quiet danger of isolation is that it can erase perspective. When there is no outside world to compare to, no new input to challenge old ideas, a culture can fold in on itself. Beliefs become absolute, rituals become sacred, and knowledge turns into myth. A ship that began its journey as a scientific mission could, over centuries, become something entirely different, a floating civilization guided by stories of origin and purpose, perhaps unaware that it was ever meant to move at all. In this way, the mind adapts by creating meaning where none exists, turning isolation into identity. Yet even that transformation carries beauty. The mind is not defeated by solitude, it reshapes it. People have found meaning in monasteries, deserts, and polar outposts, places of silence where the self becomes both companion and teacher. A generation ship drifting through the stars would be another such monastery, a place where humanity contemplates itself. The endless journey might no longer be about reaching another galaxy, but about understanding what it means to exist in the first place. In the silence between worlds, we might hear something we have never heard before, the sound of our own continuity. In that quiet, the sense of time would change too. Without sunrise or sunset, without news from home or plans for arrival, the mind might begin to live in the present alone. Past and future would fade into abstraction. What would matter most is the moment, the shared meal, the sound of laughter, the heartbeat of a friend nearby. The crew might stop counting years and instead count cycles of light, patterns of work, or generations of memory. Eternity would not There comes a moment in every long journey when motion gives way to stillness, when the destination becomes less important than the experience of being. In space, that stillness is absolute. The stars no longer seem like points of light to be reached, but like ancient fires burning in the distance, patient and self-contained. As the mind grows quiet, something changes. The longing to travel farther, to conquer distance, begins to fade, replaced by a simple awareness of where we already are. The universe stops feeling like something outside of us and starts feeling like something we belong to. From the beginning, humanity has looked upward and wondered. We have built our lives around patterns of the sky, the rhythm of sunrise and sunset, the pull of the moon, the slow drift of constellations through the seasons. Even before science gave names to these movements, they guided our thoughts and dreams. To look at the stars is to look at the oldest story ever told, one that continues without beginning or end. The more we learn about the cosmos, the more we see that knowledge does not diminish its mystery. Understanding becomes another form of reverence, a way to listen more deeply to what the universe has been saying all along. In the quiet truth of space, awe is not loud. It does not come from excitement or discovery, but from humility. We stand at the edge of something infinite and realize that it needs nothing from us. The galaxies turn whether or not we watch them, the stars are born and die in rhythms too long for human time. And yet, within that vast indifference, there is kindness, the kindness of existence itself. Against all odds, we are here to witness it. The atoms in our bodies were shaped by ancient stars, the warmth in our skin comes from a sun that has burned for billions of years. We are not guests in the universe. We are part of its unfolding. The farther we look into space, the deeper into the past we see. Each distant galaxy is a memory of what once was, its light traveling for millions of years to reach our eyes. We are surrounded not by emptiness but by time itself, glowing softly in every direction. To know this is to feel small, but not diminished. Our smallness gives meaning to our awareness. In a universe so large that even light can feel slow, the existence of consciousness, however brief, is something extraordinary. The stars do not know that they shine. The galaxies do not know that they move. But we know, and that knowledge connects us to everything. Awe begins where ambition ends. When we stop measuring our place in the cosmos by distance or achievement, we begin to see it for what it is, a living, breathing totality that includes us completely. The desire to leave our galaxy fades not because we lose curiosity, but because we find peace in belonging. The Milky Way is not a barrier, it is home. Its spirals of stars stretch across 100,000 light-years, a glowing ocean of light where every particle, every planet, every being shares the same origin. To never leave it is not a failure, it is an acceptance of the wonder already around us. Every human being has felt this at least once, that quiet pause beneath a night sky when the heart slows, and thought gives way to stillness. The feeling is ancient, older than language. It is the awareness of scale, of seeing the self not as small but as perfectly placed. The same feeling has touched astronomers at their telescopes, poets at their windows, travelers on dark roads. It is a form of peace that does not depend on understanding, a surrender to beauty that requires no explanation. In those moments, the need to reach fades, and what remains is gratitude. The light that fills the galaxy is old beyond imagination, but it is not dead. It moves, flows, and scatters, touching everything. Each star burns its own color, each planet reflects it differently, each observer sees it through a unique lens. In this way, the universe is never static, it is always changing, even in its quietest forms. To witness this movement is to take part in it. When we gaze at the Milky Way, we are seeing not a picture but a living process, a slow dance of gravity and light that has been unfolding for billions of years. Our understanding is part of that dance, a brief flicker of awareness within its rhythm. Even the most powerful telescopes, reaching to the edge of the observable universe, show us that we live within a single moment of an ongoing creation. The galaxies we see are not separate from us, they are part of the same expansion that carries our world forward. Space is not empty, it is filled with potential, with energy, with quiet purpose. The same laws that shape distant clusters of stars also shape the cells of our bodies. The pattern repeats, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, a symmetry so perfect that it feels like poetry written in the language of physics. When we realize this, fear begins to dissolve. The darkness of space no longer feels cold or endless but calm and complete. There is no need to imagine a purpose beyond what already is. The universe needs no destination, and neither do we. The act of existing within it, of thinking, of feeling, is enough. In the great balance between emptiness and light, we are the moment of awareness, the part of the cosmos that can see itself. That realization brings not pride, but stillness, a sense that everything is unfolding as it should. The awe that comes from this understanding is not loud or fleeting. It settles into the mind like a slow breath, expanding and softening thought. It invites patience. It teaches that value does not come from control, but from connection. The stars do not rush, yet they shine. The galaxies do not compete, yet they move in perfect order. To live according to that rhythm is to find peace, a peace that does not end when we close our eyes but continues, steady and quiet, in every heartbeat, in every orbit of the Earth around the Sun. Even from the surface of our small planet, we can see that order. The path of the moon across the night sky, the return. In this sense, awe becomes a form of belonging. It transforms distance into connection, difference into unity. It reminds us that our struggles, our ambitions, our fears are all small parts of a much larger pattern, and that this pattern is, in itself, complete. The stars above us are not unreachable dreams but reflections of the same elements within us. When we look at them, we are looking at our own origin, at the light that once lived in our bones and hearts. The boundary between observer and observed fades until only the feeling of existence remains, vast and calm. The idea that we will never leave our galaxy does not limit our wonder. Instead, it deepens it. The Milky Way holds enough mystery to fill eternity. There are stars being born in clouds of gas, planets forming from dust, black holes weaving space and time into spirals of unseen power. Every image captured by our telescopes, every equation written by our scientists, is a glimpse into that living whole. To understand that we will never see it all is not disappointment, it is relief. The infinite can remain infinite. We do not need to finish the story to find it beautiful. Awe invites silence, and silence invites reflection. In stillness, the mind stops reaching and begins to listen. The more we listen, the more we hear, not in sound, but in feeling, in the deep rhythm that moves through everything. We begin to see that life is not separate from the universe's calm, but an expression of it. The pulse in our wrists, the glow of a nebula, the slow turning of galaxies, all follow the same invisible law. The realization does not bring excitement, but serenity. We are already where we need to be. As you picture the Milky Way now, try to see it not as an object but as an experience. A vast river of light flows through the dark, every star a droplet, every world a ripple. Somewhere within that river, our sun shines quietly, carrying its planets in smooth orbits. Among them drifts the Earth, glowing faintly with the light of life. And upon that light, for the briefest of moments, we are awake. The thought of it is enough to fill a lifetime with wonder, not the restless wonder of seeking more, but the calm wonder of understanding enough. In the end, awe is not about size or distance. It is about recognition, the moment when the universe and the self mirror each other and nothing stands between. It is the quiet breath when you realize that you are both observer and participant, that the stars you see are also within you. Everything that exists is made from the same ancient light. The boundaries we draw are temporary. What remains, beyond all boundaries, is unity. And in that unity, there is peace deeper than time, wider than space, and softer than sleep itself. The journey has brought us across light years of imagination, through silence and distance, through time and memory, through the deep patterns that shape the universe itself. And now, as we drift toward the quiet end of this story, we can finally rest in understanding. Humanity will never leave our galaxy, not because we lack courage, or knowledge, or will, but because the Milky Way is already more than enough. It is not a cage, but a cradle. It is the home where the laws of physics, the rhythm of time, and the beauty of existence all meet. In its calm immensity, there is no need to go farther. Every chapter of our exploration has revealed not limitation, but belonging. The speed of light, the weight of energy, the fragility of human life, the silence of radiation, the patience of time, all these are not barriers, but invitations to look inward. They remind us that being here, in this moment, is already an act of cosmic participation. We are made from the same matter that burns in the stars. We are shaped by the same forces that guide galaxies. The universe is not out there, it is within us, mirrored in our breath, our heartbeat, our thoughts. When we understand that, the need to escape fades into calm gratitude. The truth is gentle, there is nowhere to go that is not already part of what we are. Every mile we could travel, every world we could imagine, already exists in the same great pattern that includes us. To stay within our galaxy is to stay within that truth. The Milky Way is our island in an ocean too vast to cross, and it carries us through space as surely as a wave carries a drop of water. We are passengers, yes, but also pieces of the vessel itself, fragments of starlight, traveling together through the dark. The journey is not outward, it is continuous, endless, already underway. As we look back, we see that the dream of leaving was never about distance. It was about understanding our place within the whole. We have imagined ships faster than light, engines that bend space, machines that outlast time, but all those dreams point toward the same desire, to touch what feels eternal. And yet, in quiet moments, we already do. The night sky we see above us is ancient light touching our eyes, crossing billions of years to arrive here, now. To witness that is to, when you look at the night sky, you are looking across time. The light you see has traveled for thousands, sometimes millions of years to reach you. You are seeing ancient messages written in brightness, stories that began long before humanity was born. And yet, that light was meant to be seen. Without eyes to receive it, it would pass unnoticed, its journey unfinished. In that simple act of seeing, you complete the story. You give the universe its witness, its awareness, its reflection. The stars shine, and you see them, and in that moment, both are complete. This is what it means to belong to the cosmos, not to master it, not to escape it, but to notice it. The soft light of a distant sun, the steady rhythm of your own breathing, the movement of thought through the quiet of your mind, all are the same process expressed at different scales. To listen to that rhythm is to be in harmony with everything. The universe does not need us to be great or infinite, it only asks that we exist as we are, for a short while, with kindness and curiosity. In the calm of that acceptance, there is peace deeper than any destination. As you breathe now, think of the earth, this small, blue world turning slowly in the dark. Its air moves gently, its oceans shimmer, its mountains rest in the silence of night. Every sound you hear, every motion you make, is part of that still rotation. You are not separate from it. You are moving with it, carried effortlessly around the sun, across the galaxy, through space. The entire planet is in motion, yet to you it feels calm. That is the same calm that fills the universe, motion so vast that it becomes stillness, distance so great that it becomes unity. The story we have traveled through tonight, of light, distance, energy, life, and time, leads not to conclusion, but to continuity. There is no final chapter in the universe, no end to its unfolding. Stars will be born, burn, and fade. New worlds will emerge, and old ones will disappear. The galaxies will drift apart, carried by expansion. And through it all, the same calm will remain, the deep, unchanging rhythm of existence. We are part of that rhythm, brief but essential, a momentary expression of awareness that gives the universe its own reflection. To rest in that understanding is to let go of striving. We do not need to cross galaxies or defy physics to find wonder. We have already traveled far, from the birth of stars to the rise of consciousness, from dust to life to thought. Our journey is not measured in miles but in awareness, not in motion but in realization. The true frontier is within, the quiet recognition that we are the universe, looking back upon itself, seeing its own beauty with human eyes. To understand that is to reach the farthest point we will ever need to go. And so, the idea that humanity will never leave our galaxy becomes not a limitation, but a truth filled with grace. The Milky Way holds everything we could ever know or dream. It is our landscape, our history, our destiny. To remain within it is not to be confined, but to be at peace. We are surrounded by light, supported by gravity, carried gently through time. Even the spaces between stars are alive with the whisper of creation. Every particle, every photon, every breath is part of the same continuous story, the story of existence itself. Now, as this story draws to a close, let your thoughts drift like a slow orbit. Feel how small you are, and how vast that smallness truly is. Every breath connects you to the stars, every heartbeat echoes the rhythm of galaxies turning. The universe does not rush, and neither should you. Time moves softly, and in that softness, everything is safe. You are exactly where you are meant to be, within the arms of a galaxy that has carried life across billions of years, within the quiet embrace of the cosmos itself. If you're enjoying this, feel free to let me know where you're listening from. Maybe you've been hearing this under the glow of city lights, or from a quiet countryside, or perhaps beneath the open sky. Wherever you are, the stars above you are the same ones that guided your ancestors, the same ones that will shine long after. They are constant, patient, and kind. Their light has crossed impossible distances to find you tonight. Let it remind you that you are part of something enduring, something gentle, something infinite. Close your eyes now. Let the sound of these words fade into stillness. Let your breath slow, your muscles soften, your thoughts quiet. Imagine the galaxy turning around you, a spiral of light and darkness, slow and endless, peaceful beyond measure. You are floating within it, safe, silent, at rest. There is no need to travel farther. The stars are near, the universe is whole, and you are home. Sleep well, traveler of light. The Milky Way will keep you, just as it always has, turning softly, shining quietly, forever.